another way I kind of teach some things about intolerance. Towards, I guess, in the month of December, I teach a unit on holidays around the world. And I work in tolerance as I teach that, and teach them how people have different beliefs and different traditions.
Right.
And while they may not believe what other people believe, I teach them that that's just their opinion. So I go back to the opinion thing.
Right.
That's just their opinions, and that everybody might believe or celebrate something differently. And I've even heard I've heard one student say something like Santa Claus isn't real, and another student, their parent had taught them that because it went against their religious beliefs.
Right.
And then another student would say, no, I don't think so. I believe that he is real. So they learn to talk it out, and or they learn to say, well, that's okay if you believe that, and I believe something different.
Right.
So yeah, and then in January I teach a unit on Martin Luther King, and that's one of their favorite units the whole year. You wouldn't think it would be, but most kids at this age, they have never heard about bigotry and the injustices that happened to people before, people of color. And so what do you mean they couldn't drink out of the same water? Why did they have to go to different schools?
Right.
And I'll even have kids stand up and I say, okay, if your skin is brown or it's darker, you're going to go stand on that side of the room. If your skin is white, go stand on that side of the room. And I will tell them, a long, long time ago, when Martin Luther King was trying to make the world a better place, girls and boys, if their skin wasn't the same color, they didn't go to the same school. And that's not fair.
Right.
And they really get into that lesson. Or it's amazing how they will react when I tell them they couldn't drink out of the same water fountains. And I'll show a picture of a water fountain that's tall and it's refrigerated, and then I show the smaller one that's real small and it's not refrigerated and it's short and it might be dirtier.
Right.
And they really get indignant about it. So I teach them, a lot about, we talk about how that wasn't right. And then later when in February, we do President's Day, and I teach about Abraham Lincoln for a whole week and how he freed the slaves and how he was trying to make the world a better place, or our country a better place. So I teach about it in lots of different ways throughout the year. One of the big things I do, too, I forgot, when it's during Martin Luther King, I bring in 2 eggs. One is brown and one is white, and we talk about it. And I say, are these the same? And because some kids would say no, and some would say yes. And so, well, do you think it's the same on the inside? And so we'll talk about how they're different, but then I use a glass bowl, 2 different little glass bowls, and I will crack them, and then I'll show the kids, and then I'll put them behind my back and then bring them back out. And can you tell which one was brown, which one was white? And they'll say no, because they look the same. And I'll tell them how everybody's the same on the inside, just like these eggs were the same on the inside.
Right.
So, and everybody has feelings. It doesn't matter what your skin color is or, what nationality you are. Everybody has feelings. So I kind of do that too.
Yeah. No, I love that activity. I really like that activity. That's so creative. And then the metaphor is so cool. And it really makes it so easy for, that age group to see and to just oh yeah, no, there's nothing different. You would never know what the yolk came from which egg. So no, I really like that activity. Everything you had to say was just really, it was good. But I really like that metaphor that you use. That's really cool. So moving to the next question. So in instances where bullying does occur, how would you discipline bullying when it does occur? Sorry.
It's funny. I dislike that word because in kindergarten, if you use that word, then they think everything is bullying.
Right.
So, but basically when I do see that, I conference with the 2 students, first individually and then together. And so I'll find out what from each student. I'll ask them what happened, to explain it to me. And of course, if there's anybody else that witnessed it, I'll talk to them. And then the student who was bullied, I'll have them tell me how, when I'm talking to them just by themselves, how they feel, how it made them feel.
Right.
And then I tell them that it's the student who was bullied, that's never okay for the other person to do that behavior. And I asked, and then later when I bring them together, I'll ask the other student, how would they feel if somebody did that to them? If somebody pushed them to the ground because they didn't like them, or because, and a lot of times it's they didn't want to play with me, so I push them to the ground or something like that.
Right.
So I ask them, how would you like that? How would you feel? And I try to put them in the other person's thing. And I always ask the other kid to apologize to the other student, and I have them clip down because they were a bucket dipper. And
Gotcha.
we talked about how they dipped the other person's bucket. If it's warranted, I will write the student up for the incident and then contact the parents. However, in kindergarten, a lot of it's just kids learning, and they're, somebody wouldn't play with them, so they think that's bullying. And I have to go, well, that's not bullying. They just wanted to do something different. That's why I say I hate that word, because once they hear that word, everything is a bully to them.
Gotcha.
So,
I gotcha.
If somebody doesn't want to play with them, well, I'm going to go tell the teacher you're bullying me. We have some conversations about it. And again, kind of one of the things I mentioned earlier that I do, I also tell the student who was bullied, I say, okay, now this is what I want you to do. If it ever happens again, just yell and say, stop, don't do that. I don't like it. And then you can go tell a teacher.
Okay.
So I always follow up with that. And then at the end of our meeting, when the two students are together, I'll have them tell that student, please don't do that. I don't like it. Don't do it again. Mm-hmm. And usually the other one will say, okay, I'm sorry. And, if it's a minor thing, I don't let parents know. I just, unless it becomes a pattern.
Right.
Because I think I just use it as a teaching experience between the kids and to teach them how to identify what it is. And some kids have never been around other students and really know how to act.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you, making that distinction, especially, when you have that age group where everything can be seen as bullying. So that's something that, when my partner and I were drafting these questions, I hadn't considered. So I appreciate you like bringing that to light, and then, when it is, calling it like it is, but then letting them know like, okay, that's actually this, or that's this. And, no, I like that. I like that.
It's interesting. A lot of times I find that kids get that word, usually at the beginning of the year, someone will hear it from their parents, because their parents will tell them, don't let anybody bully you. And,
right.
And, but then once that word is used and they hear it in the classroom, then it starts something. So it's usually something we really try hard to nip in the bud and teach what is bullying and what is just a difference of opinion, or somebody wants to do something different, and I tell them how they can nicely say something. Well, thanks for asking me to play, but right now I want to do something else.
Right.
And that's okay. So yeah, it's, and sometimes I find that parents will put, if a child will go home not understanding it, and they'll tell their parents they're being bullied, when really it's just another child didn't want to play with them, or
Gotcha.
They were playing a big one. I don't like them playing tag on the playground, but it is allowed. And sometimes when they're playing tag, they sometimes a student will get accidentally pushed because they're running from another, and none's trying to touch them.
Right.
And they'll come. The parent will say, "Well, my child is bullied. He keeps running and keeps having to run away from other kids and getting pushed down." And then when I investigate it, it's the kids playing tag.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting with this age group, with the younger guys.
Yeah. No, that's true. Sorry.